Hi, designers. I am Anna Livermore from V.Mora, and we help launch fashion designers. So I've been doing these lives every Wednesday at 12:30 so that you can pick up some tips and tricks and just learn about V.Mora, about who I am, what we offer. So thank you for joining us today. I am talking about production management. So this is the chunk of what V.Mora offers clients. And it is the service that most of our clients come to us for. So I'm going to explain what it is, why it's important, how it is helpful. And then I'm also going to give you some nuggets of information around mistakes that we've seen or learned the hard way so that you don't have to, right? So stay tuned for those things. I've got some pretty big ones that can save you thousands and thousands of dollars. So we're going to get into that. But first, I wanted to talk about a little bit about V.Mora and what we do, where we're from, how we got here. I founded V.Mora in 2008, so it's going to be 16 years in January, which is unbelievable. It's been a long time I've been doing this, and it's been a whirlwind. It's been really fun. We've learned a lot. The company has grown exponentially since the start. When I was in my living room in Rogers Park in my apartment in Chicago. So it's been a really fun ride, and working with the clients has been just, I love it. I love working with the clients. I love having that contact and seeing the results of what services we provide. Being able to, we just did a fitting last week with one of our clients. She's doing little girl dresses, and to be able to show her the rack of samples and something that she had dreamed about for so long. I think she almost started crying. It was just very emotional because so many of our clients, they've been dreaming about starting a fashion line for so long, and to be able to put it to reality and like make it happen and be there when you are seeing your creation for the first time, it's just super gratifying. And I love doing it. And that is how paying attention to what I loved doing from the start is how V.Mora grew into what it is today. I started as a pattern maker and sample maker, and clients needed more help and needed help with the factories and needed someone there explaining the patterns or the tech packs or what we were looking for production. So it really organically happened out of a need for what my clients were asking me for. Clients would come to pick up their samples, and they would stay for an hour, picking my brain. And that's how this kind of consulting happened and the strategizing happened. But the most important part of what we do is the production management. I tell my clients, I tell my employees, production management is challenging. If it wasn't, I literally would not have a company. If you could just like find a manufacturer online and call them up, and they would produce your production and deliver it on time and do everything that they say that they can do. And if it were that easy, then you wouldn't need V.Mora. So that is just like what I remind my staff and my clients when things do get tough or challenging. We are working under the restraints a lot of times of smaller production, smaller minimums in the fabrics. So for example, we'll have a client that maybe has come from a large company and is used to just like drawing something up, and somebody will custom make those buttons and yarn dye that fabric and screen print the design, and like voila, it's done. But that's not the reality for when you're creating something in those smaller minimums. you've got to piecemeal these vendors together. There isn't one place to go that's just going to take care of everything. So if you have embroidery, that's done at one place. If you have screen printing, that's another. If you have heat transfers, that's another. Your pattern maker isn't your sample maker. Your sample maker isn't your production house. Your pattern maker isn't your digitizer and grader. Now, there are exceptions, of course, but for the most part, when you're working in these small minimums, and I'm talking like under 5,000 units would be a small minimum. If you're making 5,000 units, you can have all your things done custom, your trims made custom. You can have anything that you want when you are able to meet the minimum of 1,000 yards or have an entire container full of your deliverables. Things like that do help a lot. And that's how these larger companies make their garments very easily. Well, I don't even know. I don't think it's easy for them either, but you get what I'm saying is when you're doing the small minimums, we're limited to the vendors that have fabrics that have those smaller minimums. The sourcing district, High J, is one of those vendors that has smaller minimums. So if you are looking for a specific fabric or content or color, I'm going to use a client example. I don't think that she will mind, but if she's watching, she will know who I'm talking about. She had bought fabric from a very well-known, amazing retail fabric store in New York. I'm sure everyone knows who I'm talking about. Beautiful fabrics, relatively good prices, but they aren't reorderable. There's no what's called continuity in the fabrics. So she came to us with this beautiful vegan leather, like it was Stella McCartney. So it was soft and it even smelled like leather, and it was gorgeous. And we looked everywhere. We ordered every swatch of every vegan leather supplier I've ever used, and we couldn't duplicate it. And the reason being is Stella McCartney made that fabric. They produced that fabric. They might even have the rights on that fabric. So they have an entire team of technical fabric. They're almost like scientists to make this vegan leather smell like vegan leather, to have that hand so soft, so beautiful. And they have the mills to create it. And even I told her, like, I saw a pair of those pants made from that vegan leather at the same price point that real leather sells for. So I know it wasn't cheap. They weren't doing this to save cost. They were doing this to be more animal friendly. So it even for them, the cost of it was real leather. So my point is that when you're working with these smaller minimums, you are unfortunately limited in what is readily available, because you're going to have to order from the mills of the fabrics that are already made. No one is specifically going to make this perfect fabric for you when you're only ordering 100 yards or 500 yards. A lot goes into the process for making these fabrics. So working with V.Mora, we can point out that this fabric, if you're looking for this specific fabric, might be difficult to find, and then point you in all the right directions of the fabric vendors that do support smaller minimums. And then, with this client in particular, there became a time when I was like, we have to call it. We have to call it. We've got to move on. You've got to launch your collection, and we can't let everything be held up by this one fabric. So for the production management, you have someone that has experience, that knows not to steer you in the wrong direction. You know, if she was, and I have run into this, clients working on their own, forever looking for this perfect fabric that doesn't exist. So you never are moving forward, you're never launching your line because you're forever looking for this one fabric. So our production management clients have that direction for whether they're kind of being too specific and they're not going to find the fabric, or if it's available. We also have all the network of the vendors that I've built over the last 15 years. So, you know, if it's out there, we can find it. If it's not out there, we'll let you know, hey, we've hit so many dead ends that we think it's time that, you know, until you're at that place where you're making the larger minimums, you find a different fabric. So that's just one example of working with V.Mora for the production management and how we can help with launching your line. It also helps with time. So even if you're working with V.Mora, we're going to say it takes about 9 to 12 months, depending on what you're launching, for you to have your products in your hands. Like your production is done, you're selling, your photo shoot is done. And the reason being is there are a lot of steps involved. And again, when you're doing these smaller minimums, you are kind of at the mercy of these contractors. So you've got to work under their timelines and what works for them. And for your first collection, it's really, really important that you don't skip steps. And listen, I will tell you if you can, I will tell you where you can save money, and I will tell you what I think you cannot skip. And that comes from like the honest truth from my heart. I want you to be successful. I want you to have a perfect production. So if there's something that you're like, do I really need this? I will say yes, or I will say no. And if I say yes, I'll tell you why. An example of this, again, with the same client with the vegan leather, hi Liza, if you're watching, we're doing the size check run. And she was like, she really wanted to see the size check run is you've made the sample, the proto, you've done the fittings in that first block size. So it's in the middle. So she did her sample sizes in the size small. And we're now doing a size check run. And I'm telling her, let's do it in the extra large or in that size 12, 14. And since we're doing a small and we're only grading down one size on that size, I think we'll be okay just to do this largest size. And she's like, but I really want to see it in every size. I want to see it in the extra small and in the medium. And I had advised her that I don't think it's necessary right now. We have amazing pattern graders. It is very rare, if ever, that we've had a mistake, but it could happen. So that is why we do that size check run. And I let her know, like, hey, if we see something that's wonky in that extra large, then we'll go back and we'll do those other sizes, or we'll do the extra small, or we'll do more investigating. But it's assumed that the small, if the small is correct, and then the extra large comes out correct, that medium and large is also going to be okay, as well as that extra small, because you're just grading one size from the block. So, and for the size check run, you do get charged sample prices. So it's expensive, especially where we're having our samples made. So yes, it's expensive to have the size check run done, but very, very important that you do not skip the size check run, because the risk reward, yes, you'll save the money on that extra sample, but the risk is that all your production doesn't fit. And if it doesn't fit, it doesn't sell. So I absolutely, when I have clients that want to skip that size check run, I've almost gotten to the point where I'm going to like make them sign like a legal letter of some sort to be like, I do not think this is a good idea, and here is why. But if you decide to skip it, We will support you, but I just need you to acknowledge that you know what the risks are. The same thing goes for tech packs. Tech packs really need to be done for your protection, even if the factory is saying, oh, don't worry about it, we don't need a tech pack. Tech packs are for your protection. So they do, again, there are additional costs, but it is important that you have something in writing, some sort of paper that is explaining what you want for your production and how you expect things to turn out. So the time that it takes, we will explain in the beginning. We do a timeline. All of this is upfront. We'll do an estimate. So we take you through this from start to finish. And we do save a ton of time because we already have these vendors. We already have the factories. We already have the screen printers, the digitizers, or, whatever it is, we have that connection. And by working with us on that production management package, you have full connection to our network. And what also is great is those people. We're not like holding them back from you. We're not keeping them a secret from you. Yes, we realize that this could mean that after launching your first or your second season, that you go and you work with these vendors directly. But there are other services that we provide, and strategic advising and websites and marketing and things like that, where we can still fill in where it's needed. We can still help with the development, the patterns, the samples, the fittings, but maybe the manufacturing you've got handled. But yes, we are completely transparent with those vendors, and you will know who you're working with. You'll be able to meet them. If they're in New York, come to New York. We'll take you on a tour. You'll get to see all of these people, meet with them directly. And like my client said last week that was here, use V.Mora as kind of like a way to get in the door. These vendors know us. They've worked with us for years. They know that we are educating you so that you're prepared to work with them. For example, a factory wants to cut and they want to sew, and that is it. They don't want to explain what a yield is, or how much supplies you need to order, or all of these other things. It's much easier for them if you already know that information, so they can do what they're good at, which is cutting and sewing. And that's really it. Most factories cut and sew, and that's like all that they want to do. So we help with all the other ins and outs on the to get you to a point where all of our vendors know what you're asking for. You are educated about the process. And not only that, if you're asking for something that isn't correct or something that they don't agree with, they will email us and say, hey, this client is asking for blah, 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 blah. I don't think that that's going to print out right. I don't think that's going to sew well. Can you just double check with them? And then I'll go back to the client and we'll walk through it together and come to a solution. So they know that their job as the vendor is easier, because they're not the ones that are going to be responsible for making sure you understand what you're asking or what you're ordering or whatever it may be. Again, I have notes down here. So we help with time. We help with vendor connection. We help with providing our expertise, keeping things efficient, making sure you're spending your money properly. There are places to spend money and there are places you can save money, but sitting down in the beginning and creating that all-in budget is really important, because you don't want to spend 100% of your money on production and not have anything left for your photo shoot or your website. So being able to prepare for that is really important. And I promised I was going to give some examples of things that you need to look out for in production. So the services in more detail, we have weekly meetings, all email connection. We're emailing all the clients, or I'm sorry, emailing all the vendors on your behalf, writing your POs, checking in on all the vendors, making sure that deadlines are being kept, communicating those deadlines with you and with the manufacturers, organizing everything. We have what's called a flow sheet so that whenever you have questions, you can go back to that flow sheet to see. We also have tons and tons of content and checklists and worksheets that you can go through that will help you with everything from ordering your materials to marketing and strategy and social media and photo shoots. So all of that is included in the production management. And what's unique about V.Mora, I feel, is that we are giving you direct contact to all of those vendors. We're not keeping you in the dark about anything. And we're really here to be your partner. And we're in it with you. We want you to be successful. We want you to have a perfect production. And we're in it with you throughout everything from start to finish. We're not just going to focus here or there or there. We're going to do everything with you from start to finish. And we have so many clients that have successfully launched with the production management, and so many different types of products too. We've done dog products, we've done men, women, baby products, bags, wallets. I always say we've done every product you can possibly imagine. What is beneficial about working with V.Mora in production management is we are not the factory, which you might think would be a benefit if you're working directly with the factory. But in actuality, you benefit from us not being a factory, because how that looks is we're going to be quoting out at multiple factories for your production, being able to get you the best price. Not only that, but we're going to pair you with the best factory for your type of product. So whether you're doing leather goods or couture or children's wear, like, we're going to have a factory that's going to meet the criteria, that's going to be perfect for you and what you need. So us not being a factory is actually beneficial to all of our clients, because not only are we able to quote out and get you the best price, but we're able to find you the best possible match. And you've heard me say it before, the factory is the most important relationship that you're ever going to make. So we're able to work with a variety of clients because we're able to pair you with whatever factory it is, and different minimums. Some clients want to make 30 units, some clients want to make 100, some 500, some 1,000. So we're able to pair you with the factory that has your type of product, that's going to have the best price, and be able to work in your minimums. And let's see, what else do we have here? So many tools, resources, checklists, all of the templates, and all the formatting that we've worked with over the years, we've really perfected because we've been doing it for 15 years. It also gives our clients the ability to launch a clothing line and have a life, whether that's a full-time job or you're a mom or whatever your life looks like. You can sleep at night because we're doing all of the hard work. All of the big decisions, all of that comes from you. But the legwork we're doing, we're at the factory, we're picking up, we're dropping off, we're doing the quality checks, like, we're doing all of that for you, and you can trust us because we have this experience. And it's basically like hiring. If you're going to hire a full staff for your first collection to launch, you're going to hire a technical designer, a pattern maker, a production manager, an assistant for that production manager, a strategic advisor. All of that comes within the V.Mora team, and at a fraction of a price of like hiring 5 full-time employees. That'd be insane. So you're able to work with a team at contractor rates instead of pulling in all of these employees. And from there, after the production management, like I said, there's a ton of other things that we can help with, strategize, budgeting, next season, marketing, all of those fun things. And now I'm going to share some stories that hopefully you'll hear and you'll listen to, and it'll prevent you from making mistakes in your production. Are you ready? We picked up this job halfway through, and the production had already been done, and the blue dresses came out 6 inches shorter than the purple dresses. And nobody had any idea why. The client was not close to the factory, so it was difficult for her to show up and kind of problem solve with them and figure out how this happened. Obviously, she thought it was the factory's fault for the dresses coming out shorter. But a lot of times in our discovery work, we find out that it's not actually the factory's fault. The reason I knew that it wasn't the factory's fault is everything was cut together. Only one marker was provided. So the purple fabric and the blue fabric were cut at the same time. So it couldn't have been that they cut the purple dresses 6 inches shorter. And it just wouldn't even have made sense. Why would they have done that? They're using the same pattern as the blue dress. So back and forth at the factory, we knew that there had to be something done. And I asked the client if she had tested this fabric, and she tested it in the sampling, but she didn't test it in the additional colors. And by testing, I mean washed and dried it and ironed it, and whatever was going to happen, whatever your client is going to do to your garment, you want to do to that garment or that fabric initially to see how it reacts. And when she said she didn't test it, I then knew that that was probably the issue. And sure enough, when heat from an iron was applied to the purple fabric, for whatever reason, it shrank lengthwise. It did not happen in the blue fabric. So the factory cut and they sewed, they did everything right. They went to press it, package it, the blue shrunk. So the takeaway from that is make sure that whatever is going to happen to your garment in the customer's hands, you are doing to the garment before production. And that includes different colors of different fabrics, unfortunately, because dyes, especially in the, I don't want to say cheaper, but less expensive fabrics, are less predictable, I would say, would be how I would put that nicely. So the cheaper fabrics can be more unpredictable when it comes to treating and washing and applying heat. So you want to make sure whatever is done to that production is going to be done previously. So that is one really great example of ways that you can ensure that your production's going to be proper. Some other things that I've seen happen, heat transfers. Heat transfers have to be applied. Each heat transfer to each fabric reacts differently, even in the different colors. So you want to test all of your heat transfers before production, because I've seen it where in production, the blue shirt showed the little heat press mark, whereas the white and the light pink did not. But for whatever reason, in the darker colors, that heat transfer didn't work the same way it did in those lighter colored shirts. So testing your heat transfers is really important. Basically, just testing everything is just so important. I know it takes more time. You want to get that production, you want everything to be perfect, but test everything, please, please, please. The other thing is skipping the size check run, which I touched on earlier. But if you skip that size check run and it doesn't fit and something has gone wrong, then you can't sell it. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't sell. So even though you're paying that sample price It's really important to do that size check run in the beginning. It does not have to be every single size of every single color, but you at least want to see one of the largest size and possibly the smaller sizes depending on your blocks. But you want to see that range in the sizes and pay that extra additional sample cost. Because if you cut the production and it's not right, it's just the worst. So don't skip that step. And the third tip is skipping the tech pack. Even if you have a perfect sample, the way to ensure a perfect production is with a perfect tech pack and a perfect sew by sample. Those two things go hand in hand. If you wanted a specific thing done in your production and you had verbalized it, or even if it was in an email, it can get lost. If you have that tech pack and it is there, then that most likely will help the production to match that tech pack. So if I'm working with a client and they're like, oh, we didn't do tech packs, and then this came back and it's 2 inches too short, those tech packs have spec measurements in it and tolerances. So we would have been able to go back and say, hey, this pant leg is supposed to be 38 inches. There's a 1/2 inch tolerance. They're coming in at 36 inches. This is not within tolerance, and it needs to be fixed. The other huge benefit of working with V.Mora is because we work with these factories all the time and we have multiple clients, they are 100% more willing to fix mistakes because we've had a relationship with them for over a decade. But if you're a new designer and they're like, whatever, we're never going to see this designer anyways, and like it doesn't matter, they can go somewhere else, they can kind of just block you out, and then what? You've got to go to court, and like it's a mess, and like none of the factories I work with are like that. But it's a lot harder as like one individual person, one little guy, to get the factories to fix the mistake, especially if it isn't necessarily their fault. Like I said, with that blue and purple fabric, it was the fabric's fault. It wasn't the factory's fault. And with not providing a tech pack, they don't have spec measurements to go off of. So that would have been the designer's fault for not providing a tech pack. But with V.Mora, because we're making sure that you're taking care of your side of the street, if the production comes back and there is something wrong or a sample or whatever it is, they are 1,000 times more helpful, because they know that they want to keep the relationship with not only us, but they are loyal to us and they want our clients to be happy. So another example of a mistake that just happened. Again, I remind my employees, we're not here, like it's just impossible to make sure that everything is perfect all the time. It's impossible. There's so many things involved in a production that are unpreventable. But what our job is to provide a solution and fix it. That's what we're here for. That is what our job as production managers is, the most important. Provide a solution and fix it. So we had a client that, for whatever reason, their items, when they went to the customers got it, and it had writing on it in like red crayon. And we talked to the factory and we're like, oh my gosh, what happened? But when they have a crayon that they write on the fabric that when it's ironed disappears and it's removed, right? Well, something happened in the shipping. The temperature rose and the crayon reappeared, and they all had to be re-washed or ironed so that the crayon would then disappear completely. I don't even know the full process of the crayon and the mechanics and why and how it had come back. Maybe the first time that they heated it, it didn't melt it off completely. And then when it like heated again, it showed up. I don't even know. But their fulfillment center was in the South somewhere. and the owner of the factory flew her staff to the fulfillment center to fix that issue for them, which is amazing. So they fixed everything. Everything was wonderful. That no longer happened. It was perfect. And working with V.Mora, and because we've had that relationship, like we talked to the factory and got that solution and then presented it to the client. So our goal is when we do present you with an issue, we also say, and here's the solution. We've already fixed it. Here you go. So it's a lot less stressful for you guys. So there you have it. Those are my tips, things to avoid. And again, realizing like some things are just unavoidable. Like mistakes are going to happen, but staying solution-based, finding a solution, moving forward, not getting stuck too much in the problem. I am a firm believer, like the mistake happened, let's find a solution and fix it. Then after we can reevaluate, like, was there anything we could have done to prevent that? How did we get here? Is there anything that in the future we can learn from to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And if there is, we take that note, we build that into our strategy moving forward, and then our clients benefit from it. So we are always staying solution-based and finding solutions. And, unfortunately, mistakes happen. There are so many hands that touch your garments that it's tough. Like I said, I would not have a company at all if production management was easy. So we're here to help make it easier for you, more cost effective for you, make sure that you're not making mistakes and skipping steps, spending money where you don't have to, providing you with the vendors and the network you need to be successful, and just anything that you guys need. Emotional support while launching, that always comes up. But thank you so much. If you're interested in the production management, go to our website, sign up for a free strategy session. We can talk in more detail about what you need. The prices are tiered around the amount of products that you're launching. So it's custom to every client, but there's a formula that's really easy. We just need to talk to you about what you're doing and what you're launching. So I hope to hear from you all, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week, where we're going to talk about the 4 things that successful people do at year end. Because believe it or not, 2023 is going to be, even this month has flown by. So yes, we're going to talk about 4 things that successful people do and help you guys wrap up your amazing 2023. We'll see you next week.